Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything. Continuing today, just like every day, drawing every country in the world's flag. And today, we're technically in Europe, but we're kind of between Sicily and North Africa. So we're in the Mediterranean, an island country, a series of islands that make up a country. We're going to be doing Malta. All right, so Malta has a lot of Italian kind of heritage, right? And it's sort of like the last stop between North Africa and Europe, right? So in modern times, that actually kind of causes some issues as far as like immigration and whatnot. This is like the portal between North African immigration and Europe, but I'm getting ahead of myself like I usually do, so we'll get to that in a minute. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Malta, right? You probably heard of Malta, right, from the Maltese Falcon, a famous movie from back in the day. It's kind of what that's from. And this place being in between many international theaters. And no, I don't mean like film festivals or anything like that. I mean theaters of war, right? This is a very important place as far as like World War I and World War II, right? Because you got like the Allies versus the Central Powers, and then later the African powers, or not the African, the Axis, the Axis powers. But it did include Africa, right? So both world wars. And spoiler, I know you guys are probably like, well, yeah, of course, James. But yeah, they were not European wars. I know we always talk about the world wars like they were mostly European. And I think everybody knows about like the Pacific Theater in World War II. There was one in World War I as well, actually. But we kind of neglect North Africa. But yeah, that's why it was a world war, because there was a lot of African battles and stuff like that as well. So this place, kind of south of Sicily, always very important geostrategically. A lot of trade goes there. Again, it's kind of like when you're driving, it's like the last pit stop right before you got to cross the bridge into the other part of the country or whatever. And, you're going to be stuck on that bridge for a while, so you got to go to the bathroom right before you get to that point. So the last stop between Europe and Africa. And it's got a civilization that dates back thousands of years, right? A lot of kind of Roman and Italian influence. It's got some of the oldest megalithic sites in the world, right? So megalithic means basically like, giant, like sort of rock structures, kind of like Stonehenge, right? So Malta has a lot of those kind of sites just because very early in civilization, this kind of part of the world. And so it's kind of right in the center of the Mediterranean, and it's always been a strategic military asset. I talked about the world wars, World War I and the sequel, World War II. But yeah, long before that. I mean, we go way back to like Phoenician and Peloponnesian wars and stuff, and this place was always just a very important kind of place to have, right? When you're playing, what was the game that I'm thinking about? Was it Stratego or Risk, right? Where you got to take over the world. Anyways, if you know, you know, and you can correct me. If you don't, you don't, but just play along. So it's important, is what I'm trying to say, right? You need this place for geopolitical, geostrategic warfare concerns. So this island, or chain of islands, has fallen under the control of many, many different world powers over the years. So we got Phoenicians, okay. Carthaginians, okay. Greeks, cool. Romans, based. Byzantines, based. Moors, Normans, Sicilians, based. Spanish, yep. Knights of St. John, based. And the French, All right, so I probably just angered half of my viewers with my little takes there, but multiculturalism, right? This place has been the seat of many different empires, and in modern times, it became a British colony, right? Since 1814, Great Britain kind of taken over half the world by that point. 1814, though, the empire was still kind of growing, right? So this is kind of the early stages of British global dominance. And Malta, they gained their independence from Great Britain in 1964, right? So that's a little odd, actually, because you think that with Malta, being a post-World War II state, that Britain would have given them up in like 1949 or something, right? Like kind of like a lot of their South Asian possessions and stuff like that. But no, much later on. So probably a big reason for that is just kind of due to the fact that Malta was never really like an ethnic like identity of the people, right? It was more just like an important place to have under your belt, right? So Britain probably held on to it like for geostrategical purposes. And then they said, you know what? Let them have it. We'll let Malta be their own thing. And they have been since 1964. All right. So they, again, very strongly supported Britain during the World Wars, and kind of had very strong ties to them post-independence. And since the mid-1980s, this place has basically just been one giant truck stop, right? So, if you're watching the 80s movies or whatever, right? And, they have that one last, like, bar or truck stop, like, right before, Never Never Land or the Frontier. And that's where all the riffraff and all the trouble starts. This is kind of one of those places, right? It's the last stop on the trade routes before you get off into Africa or out of Europe. So Malta always been one of those just sort of destination points that kind of attracts all types, right? Because it's mostly just a commercial state, right? It's not really like doesn't really have like a nationality, and not to say that it doesn't, but not like it's not like, oh, these are the Italian people and their state, or the French people and their state, right? It's a little bit different. But yeah, it's also become, in addition to being like a transshipment point, it's a great financial center, right? So there's a lot of banking and stuff like that there. A lot of industry kind of sets shop up in Malta, just due to the fact that so much trade passes through this place. So it's got a fairly modernized economy, but it's also kind of one of the oldest stories in the book, right? And the fact that, like, we're talking almost like Chinese, like Silk Road politics when we talk about this place, because it's one of those places that everybody has to pass through, right? When they're trading and exchanging goods and services. So it's become a little bit more since then. Like, it's got a big tourist sector. It's got a big service economy. They joined the EU in 2004 and the Eurozone in 2008. And it's been pretty much kind of just like a peaceful sort of European tourist destination ever since. And yeah, that's pretty much Malta. So I just want to fill out this red a little bit deeper here. So Malta, it's just got a red and white flag, right? Kind of like Indonesia and Monaco and Poland, but reversed. Or kind of reversed, but not really reversed, depending on which ones we're talking about there, because they're all very similar. So James, what does the flag mean? All right, so we got a split in the white and the red, and we got a crown. We got a representation of the George Cross, edged in red. And according to legend, those colors are taken from the red and white banner of Count Roger of Sicily, who removed it and granted it to Malta in 1091. So that's more than a minute ago. And the more accepted explanation is that the colors are of the Knights of St. John. And they ruled Malta from 1530 to 1798. Then I guess in 1942, King George VI of the United Kingdom awarded the George Cross to the islanders for their exceptional bravery, their awesome courage, and fighting for independence in World War II. And then since they gained independence, the cross has appeared directly on the white field. So it wasn't always there in this flag, but now it is. Because I guess these Maltese people are so awesome. St. George just gave them the cross. Or King George. King George, St. George, what's in a name, right? But yeah, that's Malta. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. And you know what's happening. You know I'll catch you on the next video.